Welcome. This will be a review of the Loop Switch earplugs in direct comparison to the Loop Engage Plus earplugs from someone who has used Loop for over a year. I'll be doing a quick TLDR before showing more in-depth comparison between the two products and providing more detailed answers to questions I had when considering purchasing these. Here's your TLDR. Yeah, they're worth the price. If you're someone who already uses loops or similar products and you're interested in these, you think that you would benefit from changing modes or you use multiple sets of earplugs to do so, I recommend these. Switching between modes does work. There is a change in noise level between all three. They're well made and sturdy. No, they're not too big or heavy compared to other loops. If you love your loops, and we're interested in these, I say go for it. If you're looking into buying your first pair, I would recommend you look into all the products that Loop offers, see what fits your use case, and go from there. Myself, I've struggled with sensory sensitivity issues and I like going to loud events. Loops have helped me. Individual results may vary. What helps me might not help you. If you're someone who would benefit from changing between noise reduction, I think you should consider purchasing these as your first pair. They really are the 3-in-1 for loops. Alright, let's get into a more in-depth look. So here we've got the two products, Loop Switch and their case on the right, Loop Engage Plus and their case on the left. We'll do a quick combo about the cases. The Loop Switch case is larger. It has a mold for the earplugs. Otherwise, it's very similar. They're both made of the same kind of plastic, and they both have the little loop in the back to attach them to things or to attach things to them. The mold here is really what I think sets these apart. So if you've got a normal set of loops, to put them away, they just sit loose in the case. Sometimes it's hard to close the case because you have to figure out how to lay them in there to get the clasp shut. They fall out of the case. I've almost lost my plugs or my loops, I don't know how many times. The mold that comes in the case for the switches works so well. So you just pop them in, and no matter what you do, you can't get them out. There, they fell out. But like, are you really going to be doing that? I think that this case is great. Also, if you're someone who struggled getting your loop case open, or if you've never used loops, somebody who struggles getting small things open, the clasp here is bigger, so I think that this one is easier to open. Otherwise, not much difference in the cases, very similar. Let's take a look at the plugs themselves. So my biggest concern when purchasing the switches was that they're bigger. They look bigger. I was worried they'd be too heavy. I was worried they'd be like bulky and awkward in my ear. I wanted my loops, when I first bought them, to blend in with my ear. I didn't want people to know that I had them in. I got the pink ones because, yeah, and I don't think they're more obvious in my ear. I have had people notice that I have my plugs in. If you look really closely, you're going to see that there's something in somebody's ear. But I don't find these to be uncomfortable. In fact, I think that these are more comfortable. And that's because they have this sort of soft plastic donut that provides a flatter surface level for your ear to work with versus the loops. It's like this harder plastic and a rounded edge that I think provides a little bit more friction. That being said, I find both of them comfortable. After long hours of use, I think that they're both fine. The biggest difference is the thickness of the loop. So the reason why it is the switch, but again, I don't think it's a problem. So let's get into sort of how these seem to be made. They are labeled left and right. Oop. Very hard to see, but they are labeled left and right. and they are mirrored. That's why they're labeled. So the uppermost mode is what I would consider comparable to the engage mode. And then you click down into sort of the experience mode, and then you can click down into completely closed, similar to the quiet plugs. I say click down because there is tactile feedback when you click them. They don't slide down on you, but they're easy to move. I was immediately able to put these in my ear and switch between modes. And I think that that's so nice. These, if I wanted to take my plugs out, I'd have to take them out of my ear, get this little thing out of them, find my case, open up my case, manage to get this in my case without losing it. If I wanted to put my plugs in, I'd put my plugs in, but then I was kind of stuck. And sometimes I'd have to take them out because I found that I was struggling to hear with the plugs in, and I just didn't want to take them out. So let's talk about how they work. I think that these are fantastic. And the biggest reason why is why I was so disappointed in these. So when I first got these, I chose the Engage because my primary use was going to be social situations that were just a little too loud for me. So I wanted to be able to have conversations with people and speak normally and be able to hear them and not have any problems with that. I was almost never able to do that. I still think that these were great. They definitely did work, but I oftentimes just kind of put them in and knew that I wasn't going to be able to talk. Because people almost always asked me to speak up when I had these in. I thought I was speaking too loudly because it was harder to hear than I wanted it to be. The same mode on the switches works perfectly. I put them in and I had a conversation with someone in an otherwise quiet living room, TV on low volume, and I could hear them, they could hear me, they didn't ask me to speak up, I could speak normally, and it still provided sort of the regular level of noise filtering that I want. I was blown away. I even went to see if I had gotten like the experience version of these on accident because this is what I wanted my engages to work like, and I think that it's great. Now, I've never used the loop quiets or the loop experience, so I don't know about the comparison between the experience of those plugs versus the modes on the Switch, but I think that they're fantastic. There is a difference when you switch between modes. The biggest thing I wasn't considering when getting these that I found was a huge plus is you can change the earplugs separately. It seems so obvious, and I even did do it sometimes with the mutes. I would plug up an ear if something was like really loud on my right side, if I had like a speaker over there or something. But these, you can do just like a subtle turn down of something that's loud on one side, and then you just click back up when it's gone. I am so happy with these. I wish that I had bought them first. The price point scared me as someone purchasing a product like this for the first time. I didn't even know that they would help me. But once I saw that these helped, I was sort of fighting the urge to buy these for months. And I thought that maybe the switching was kind of a gimmick and it wouldn't really work as well as I wanted it to, or I wouldn't switch them that often. I wish I had just bought these. I think that they're wonderful. I think that they're worth the price. If you're somebody who already uses loops, and you were thinking about, well, I don't know if I really need them, I think they are a huge upgrade. I think that they're great. I don't know what more to say. Peace.